Greetings, YouTube. This is Fragments of Memory, aka the Armchair Philosopher. I saw a video today by a YouTuber by the name of 1-800 Rants. And one of the things, the title of it was based on a blog she does on her own website. It's called Alcoholism in the Ghetto or Ethanolic Anesthesia. The Ethanolic Anesthesia, I like the title. I will say that 1-800 Rants is an intelligent woman and an insightful woman as well. Now, she talks about how alcohol consumption or the overabundance of consumption of alcohol affects not just the black community or the poor communities, but it affects everyone to a certain extent. And she provides some statistics, which I'm going to assume that there is a great deal of veracity to those statistics. Just by reading any magazine, seeing billboards, seeing television ads for just alcohol. And in a previous video of mine, I discussed how when someone's trying to sell you a product or when someone's trying to get you to vote for a politician, they try to sell you the idea and then try to make the politician be associated with that idea. One of the things she talked about why many in the ghettos and the poorer neighborhoods tend to turn to alcohol, because I will point out that not only does this affect many blacks, this also affects poor white people too. So poverty is very bad when you are on the fringes of society, when you are disenfranchised, when life seems rough, and it seems when you do the legitimate thing, you seem to get nowhere. It seems you have to jump through hoop after hoop after hoop, and there seems to be no reward in sight. So being in that cycle of poverty and all the vulnerabilities that come with being poor, one anesthetizes themselves by turning to marijuana, by turning to alcohol, just so they can take the edge off. And I can understand that many of us need that magical crutch to not be present in the moment. Right now, with the advent of the internet and things like Twitter, MySpace, Facebook, and various other social networking sites, and how we have all the Android apps and the iPhones and the iPads and the iTouches and the iSmells and the iWhatevers, we are not really present in the situation. Anytime something gets awkward or weird or strange or hard, we can just escape. And for those that are poor, it may not be an Android app. It might be that sip of alcohol, or it might be that puff of the blunt. um, your story about the man digging out the change, the $1.53 for the old English can. Mind you, this was a man, and he looked. You said he looked as a middle-aged man. He wasn't a young 22-year-old. He was a dude that was middle-aged. So this sounds like a man that should know better. That ideally should know better, but he did. But he didn't know better. He was doing the foolish thing. He couldn't even scrape up change to get this thing. I mean, he got it, but the way you were telling the story was as though he didn't know whether or not he had enough for the beer. He was just going there to see if he can get a beer. And what's sad is I've seen people like that in real life. I've seen people walk up and ask me for $1, not because they were homeless, but because they didn't have enough money for their own high, for their own recreational use of alcoholic beverages. And it seems we as black men especially, we seem to be affected by alcohol more so than black women. Not saying that black women don't have those problems, but I also think that there is a support system for the black woman that doesn't exist for the black man. And due to that being a reality for black men, being on the fringes, disenfranchised, and then sometimes he ends up becoming a vagabond, and maybe that bottle is his own way of anesthetizing. because it's hard work to turn your life around. I'm not saying that it is not achievable or attainable, but it's hard work to stop doing the bad things and do the right things. And when one is addicted to a substance, that substance has created certain chemical dependencies in certain portions of the brain, in certain centers of the brain. So the brain is saying, I need this, and that's constantly echoing in that man's mind. But my heart was broken when I heard that. And then to top it off, you say he felt relief when he was able to have the money and he was able to get his little fix. And then he was able to retreat and drink himself into oblivion. If that isn't nihilism right there, but I do find that many black men, not all, but there are those that are very nihilistic. And it does seem that we as blacks do tend to be the ones that are the most disenfranchised in these United States of America. One brother was even sharing with me how, due to black people's melanin, we're more likely to get addicted faster, and it's harder for us to quit due to whatever melanin molecules and whatever's in the drugs. Our molecules tend to bond with that more so than a white person. Um, and unfortunately, you also brought up, well, not unfortunately about you bringing it up, but unfortunately, due to the use of the products, of the alcohol, of the drugs, you have all these social and health and mental illnesses, these ills that contribute to, let's see, the breakdown of the family structure. You talked about that, how there is no family unit in the black community, no support system. Um, and sometimes, due to being alone and being in that status of a vagabond, that must be a painful and lonely way. Maybe that drink takes the edge off. And I know I've said that, I might be repeating myself. And I truly agree with you that we as black men have lost our way. I feel that we as black people in general have lost our way. Now, you did touch on something about how you talked about the Bible, you being a Christian woman. Well, me being Muslim, I don't bring that out too much, but me being a Muslim, alcohol is 100% forbidden in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Muhammad, peace be upon him. Like, there's no alcohol consumption. There is no beverage consumption. There is none whatsoever. In fact, not only is it a sin in Islam to drink alcohol, purchase it and consume it, but it's a sin to sell it. It's a sin to make it in order to sell so you can profit off of it. So even profiting off of it is just as bad as consuming it in the Islamic faith. Now, I will say that if we had our family units intact, I could argue that no type of the businesses that come into the black neighborhoods and sell the liquor, i.e., immigrants, and I don't want to pick on anyone of another nation, but I can definitely see that immigrants profit off of black suffering and black nightmare. They're supplying us with the things that are not good for us, only to make a profit so they can send their children to school, so they can be doctors, lawyers, and engineers, and what have you. So, just something to think about. Now, I am going to stop this video, and I do want to add a little bit more. So, I don't know if it'll be a part two, but it'll be more like an addendum. So, later on.